Hello Americans, I am back with a new video after I got a community guideline strike for no valid reason surrounding the governor of Virginia in a recent election. Today we are going to be talking about the next election that you should be caring about in this video today. That is going to be the 2022 governor's election predictions. Now you might think, Lalo, why are you so stale? Why are you talking all boring? The fact is that I've been working really hard, okay? Between work and college, I've been getting bent over backwards, no homo. But yeah, no, this is definitely very stressful, but I'm going to get out content because I am that good to you guys. You're fucking welcome. Anyways, let's get right into the video now that I've wasted 40 seconds of your time. Now we're going to get started with the states that are obviously going to go blue because we know it's going to be a red wave, right? So, of course, we're going to have Oregon as red. We're going to have California as red as well. I also believe that we're going to have Hawaii as completely blue. And I completely misplaced the names of these states for no reason. I said these were going to be red. This is how fried my brain is. But I need to deliver content for you guys. I love it so much. We are going to conclude that the state of Rhode Island is going to go Democrat. No thanks to a certain mayoral candidate in Pawtucket. We're also going to be looking at the state of Illinois and see it also go blue for that fat fuck Pritzker. Okay? We're also going to be looking at the state of South Dakota as going red for Governor Kristi Noem, despite her not being an electoral juggernaut by any means. The next state that we're going to have red is Nebraska. There should be no contention there. We should also see Idaho go red. And can I name any of the governors out of the states I just colored? Not really. Who's governor of Nebraska? I would suppose it's Pete Ricketts. I'm not sure. What about Idaho? Is it Brad Little? I'm not sure either. If we move on to the state of Oklahoma, I don't even know who's the guy here. Is it Kevin Stitt? I don't care. That's going to go red. When we look at the state of Arkansas, we're also going to see a red governorship, despite it being blue as recent as maybe 2008, which I find kind of interesting. We're going to see the state of South Carolina, home of known homosexual Lindsey Graham. It's going to go red. Former Governor Nikki Haley was a governor there. Some people might find that interesting. I don't. Next state that is going red is going to be Alabama. That is going to be safe. I also believe that Tennessee will go safely red as well. I also am of the thought process and agree with it that we're going to see the state of Iowa go red as well. I think it's ran by not Ryan Reynolds, obviously. It is Kim Reynolds, some Karen white lady, which is like, Iowans, what are you doing electing women to office? Women to office? Who the fuck thought that was a good idea? Anyways, we're going to see Alaska go red at the governor's level. Who has ever cared about a gubernatorial candidate from Alaska since Sarah Palin? So, who cares? Anyways, we're going to move on to the state of Iowa. Iowa already went red. So, actually, we're going to be moving on to the state of Kansas. Kansas will be the first Democratic state to flip Republican. Now, the reason why it was Democrat to begin with is, and not a few will take this into account, but we did have a Republican governor in the flesh called Sam Brownback, who clearly was not up to par with the GOP because he basically handed a loss to a irrelevant guy called, fuck, I don't even know his name. That's just how much I'm proving my own point. But he was trying to join the Trump administration, but he got snubbed for Ken Cuccinelli, I believe. What is his name? I think it is. He was advocating for like a national voter ID. What is his name? I don't even remember. But ultimately, Chris Kobach, right? Chris Kobach lost by like 5 points in 2018 to the Democratic nominee. That being said, there was a right-leaning third party that got 9% of the vote, I believe. But still, the Republicans really botched it, and that's because Sam Brownback did a tax cut that left a huge deficit in the budget that was not compensated by cuts in the budget itself. So because of a very nuanced political issue, we, for whatever reason, lost to a blue dog, so-called moderate, Laura Kelly, Democrat, who used to be a Republican anyway, I believe. Either way, this is not going to be competitive at all. I see this as safe red. The next state that we're going to be looking at is Wyoming. You might think, well, this might be interesting. Kanye might run. Apparently, he's not. And if that's the case, then I don't see that as being interesting at all. So yeah, that's going to go safe red to whoever the hell it is that is going to run the state. Next one we're going to be talking about, though, is going to be the state of, let me look here. I would say it would have to go down to New Jersey. New Jersey already had their election, so I might as well fill this out. It went tilt or lean to Murphy, and that is very embarrassing for the guy. And I don't know what is more embarrassing, narrowly winning New Jersey as a Democrat, or having his hairline, or his teeth for that matter. The guy's ugly. The point being that that state went pretty close, and that's going to be a good sign for the rest of the country in less than a year. So we're going to go ahead and also fill out the next state that had their election, and that is the great state of Virginia. It went lean red, 2 to 3 points. I'm not entirely sure. You know what happened with the results. It went up and then it went down. I don't know. I'm not sure. The point is that Youngkin won by more than 1 and less than 5. So yes, that was a flip. That was amazing. I love that night. It was this month, actually, a couple weeks ago. Incredible stuff. We love to see it. The next thing we're going to be talking about in this case would be Massachusetts. From what I can tell, Charlie Baker, I believe, is term limited, and if he's not, then I suppose it would go red. But I'm not entirely sure if that's the case. So I'm going to have to look this up, because I'm going to feel really stupid if I don't. Okay, so now that I've done a little bit of cursory Wikipedia research, I can confirm to you that if Charlie Baker runs for governor again, which he probably will, he'll probably win Massachusetts safe. Now, is that to say he's a good politician? Yes. And is he the best for Massachusetts? Yes. And am I going to complain, oh, he's not right-wing enough, blah, 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 blah. No, I don't care. Fuck it. Better than a Democrat. I'm not even going to cap. You know, the worst Republican is still better than Bernie Sanders, and that's what we very well could get elected in Massachusetts, given how left the atmosphere is in that hellhole. So let's go ahead and just assume it's going to go safe red. The next state that I think will go blue for the Democrats, and technically would be a flip, would be Larry Hogan's seat of governorship here in the state of Maryland, known for the show The Wire and also being a shithole with DC around it. There's going to be a blue wave in Maryland, if you want to call it that, a state that went on a fluke to the Democrats. Sorry, to the Republicans. Sorry, I'm stuttering. I'm going crazy. I'm sorry. Okay. Anyways, I don't know how to explain this. You know the fat bald guy. You know his name, Larry Hogan. He ostensibly isn't necessarily the electoral juggernaut that a lot of people claim he is on election Twitter. But what I will say is that he definitely had a chance of winning the governorship for a third term. That being said, with the MAGA base fractured as well as him being term limited, I mean, that's the biggest reason why you wouldn't win in 22. But yeah, it's going to go back to blue, which kind of sucks. Not that he was great, but still. He was the Chris Christie of the year because we had another fat-ass Republican on the East Coast. Now, the next state we're going to be talking about is Maryland. Maryland could go red. I have this going red for a particular reason, and I say this because Maryland was already competitive to begin with in the last election, and with the red wave, it ought to go red. I could say it would go lean. I think that's very reasonable. The next state that I see as going safe red would be Vermont with Phil Scott. Phil Scott should be able to run for more terms, and given that fact, he should be able to win very easily. And I, of course, filled out the wrong state. Call me Joe Biden. I confused the two. New Hampshire should be going safe red as well for Chris Sununu. That bastard did not choose to run for Senate in 22, and I'm very, very ashamed of him. What a anyway. I had to self-censor. The next state that is going to go blue for the Democrats is going to be New York. Why will that happen? Well, New York is demographically not favorable at all to the Republicans. In fact, it has been out of reach since Obama was elected. You could have argued, 20 years ago that viably you could have gotten a liberal Republican in there. But given the immigration in New York City in particular, it has just been virtually impossible to win the state, regardless of how much of the white vote you get, realistically speaking. So because of that, I see New York is going safe blue, despite the Democrats fucking it up in every conceivable way, which is just a shame to see. It is the equivalent of seeing Pete Davidson date Kim Kardashian. Like, what is this ugly nibba doing with a relatively bad bitch? Anyways, we are going to cover the state of Connecticut. Connecticut that had a relatively close, I would dare say lean blue election in 2018 with Bob Stefanowski or whatever Jewish name he had. I believe that that guy, if he were to run again, would easily win in a lean margin. I would say this because the Democrats in Connecticut do not have any special appeal to the people there, and any attempt to do so would come in conflict with the president's salt deduction and all that crap that goes on with there. I'm not going to pretend to know what that is because I do, but I don't want to talk about it. It is really boring. So to not discuss the Build Back Better plan in too much detail, I would say that that would be there's a lot of controversy around that would play into the Republicans' hands if they play their cards correct, and I think they will. So because of that, I would see the Connecticut governorship as going to the Republicans on a fluke. Don't expect it to be indicative of like, okay, well, if we win Connecticut by 2, we ought to win New Mexico by 15. It doesn't work that way. Okay, next state. I'm going to be talking about the state of Georgia. The state of Georgia, the good state of Georgia. We have the runner-up, or I would say the front-runner for the governor race in Georgia as being David Perdue. David Perdue, who is a guy who's a loser. Now, he is good on some issues. On the social issues, he seems to be doing fine. I also see him on immigration as being top 5. Better than Josh Hawley, believe it or not. Josh Hawley, super overrated. Kind of like a soy jack that made it. Kind of like a not good looking version of Patrick Bateman, you know? Discount Bateman. Soy jack Bateman. I don't know. Point is, I fucking hate Josh Hawley. Just to be contrarian. But besides that, we have David Perdue, who, in fact, with Tom Cotton, who's probably the best senator to be in the Senate for the last 10 years, they co-sponsored the RAISE Act, which would have cut legal immigration by half, which is incredible. That's awesome. Wow, I'm so cool. Anyways, he basically is the front runner, right? So David Perdue is relatively good on the issues compared to people like Vernon Jones, who's a MAGA grifter, token black. We don't need him in the party. He allegedly has some sexual assault allegations or something. Not that those are true, by the way. I don't really care. I just think that's not a good sign of like his character in general. If he's going to be fornicating a lot, that's going to be a liability. And overall, again, he's a black Democrat who supported Trump when it was convenient. I don't know. I don't feel so strongly about him. So because of that, we're going to say that if David Perdue goes against, who was it again? It was, think about it, loading screen. Okay. So David Perdue would be going against Stacey Abrams or somebody else, assuming he wins the primary against Kemp, which should be really easy with the Trump endorsement. I see him as being a generic Republican in this case and being able to win the Georgia governorship by a lean margin, just because it's been swinging so far left. No thanks to the higher black voter registration as well as suburban shifts that are not salvageable in the long term for the Republicans, unfortunately. But the low turnout among ethnic people, as well as the suburbanite whiplash from the inadequacy of the Democrats, so far will save the electoral prospects of the Republican Party in Georgia, as some people like to say it for whatever reason. The next state we're going to be talking about is Minnesota. Minnesota, which is home of a mediocre football team, as well as mediocre colleges, and overall just not as cool as Michigan. Minnesota will inevitably go Republican tilt. Why do you say tilt, Lalo? Well, the fact is that it has been excruciatingly difficult to watch the most recent election with President Trump, or former President Trump in this case, where it trended so far left in the last election. Again, I need to avoid getting a strike again, so I'm not going to be talking about what. Anyways, the point is that it necessarily is implicit in the whole machination of this political discussion that Minnesota is the white whale, and we need to spear that bitch and flip it red. And because of the overall trend, I do not see Tim Walz holding on to dear life in this case. He must not win. He fucking sucks. And if the suburban white people in Minnesota do not wake up after the riots and the shitty performance by Joe Biden, they do not deserve to be saved. These fucking imbeciles would have voted for Joe Biden in the Iron Range and these general, the driftless area as well. What are you thinking, Wisconsinites and Minnesotan cucks? What are you thinking, white people? Wake up. Jesus. Sorry. Okay. Next state, we're going to talk about the neighbor. One of the most likely flips after Kansas for the Republicans at the governor's level is going to be defeating Tony Evers, as real American politics likes to say it, or as I like to say, Tony Evers, like a normal person. Tony Evers is a pretty inadequate and unappealing candidate. On top of that, he's old and he's skinny and he's white, and I just think he's not bringing the energy. And you could very easily like he looks like if one of the, the kind of like chubby, annoying Victor from Despicable Me mixed with the Steve Jobs looking guy from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2 mixed with Joe Biden. If they had a baby, all three of those characters had a baby, it would look like Tony Evers. And mix a little bit of Jeremy Corbyn as well. And you just get a mix of extremely outdated, very prescient and nuanced analogies and references. And you mix it all up in a pot. And you get a jambalaya of an unappealing candidate that is going to lose Wisconsin by upwards of 3 to 5 points. Okay? Operating on sub 8 hours of sleep, you can tell. Ha, damn. Anyways, now we have a majority of the governorships in the country, but that doesn't make a lot of sense because we control the Perry states, so it's not fair. Anyways, the next state we're going to be talking about is Florida. Now, this state is really important. No, it isn't. And the current governor is Ron DeSantis, and Ron DeSantis is a terrible governor, super overrated. I think personally that it's going to be a state that's going to go Republican by around 8 points. I'd say it's likely red. Why do I say this? Well, it already went red by 3.5 last year. And keep in mind that Ron DeSantis in an D plus 7 or 8 environment won by less than 1%. Given that fact, I would honestly say that Ron DeSantis is not the worst candidate in the world. And I think that he would appeal to virtually every Republican, plus a substantial amount of independents and next to no Democrats. Given that fact, I think that he would win anywhere from 5 to 13% of the vote, but I will go down to about 8 or 9, I'd say is a good amount. It depends on who he runs against. Obviously, the big titty lady, Nikki Fried, would get destroyed, but Charlie Crist would put up more of a fight. And don't get me started on the bisexual meth head degenerate, also known as Andrew Gillum, also known as the guy who monkeyed things up in the governor's race in 2018. Okay, another state we're going to be talking about is the great state of Ohio. Said nobody ever. And Ohio, Rust Belt, is in a bad place right now. Has a pretty crappy governor in Mike DeWine. I don't know if he's going to be the nominee or not, but they're not sending their best for the governorship. We have Jim Renacci, I think, who got his ass kicked by Sherrod Brown in 2018. So I don't think he would be the best. But assuming somebody else steps up, then we're going to see a MAGA Republican win the state of Ohio by a safe margin in this case. Given the fact that Trump won in both elections by upwards of 8 points, I don't see how in a red wave we could lose any support from the Trump coalition as well as not win by more than 10. So I think this is a very reasonable case scenario. The next state we're going to be talking about is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, which is already a tilt red state, naturally speaking, or maybe tilt blue. It's a very dead even state. With the red wave, should be going lean red. I'd say like it could flip by maybe 3 to 5 depending on the particular approval rate of discount Steve Jobs. He, and by he I mean Tom Wolfe. Has terrible optics. He's balding. He's old. He's got the annoying look. He also looks like I don't want to even get started on his looks. He also appointed Rachel Levine, which is just fucking disgusting. What were you thinking, bro? Overall, I think he'll lose to any candidate, including Lou Barletta. The Twitter guys love him. So much about Lucerne County. I don't know what that is. Anyways, we're going to get on to the next state, which is going to be Colorado. We have Jared Polis, who is apparently going more right-wing in a slant, going more Clintonite, which is going to be pretty appealing to the suburbs. In that case, I would point him as holding on by a lean margin to the governorship. I just simply don't see Colorado as going red anytime soon, despite it being a red wave. And while I would say in a normal election year that this could go 10 points Democrat, given the red wave, I would say that this will go 4 points Democrat. But I could be wrong. But I'm not getting too optimistic about the race, especially if the gay governor, I believe he is, goes more right-wing in his stances, allegedly. Next state we're going to be talking about is Texas. In the primary, we do have Dunn Hopkins, who's basically, I wouldn't say he's grifting, but he's, drawing attention away from an outstanding governor who rolls with the punches and keeps persevering, and that is Greg Abbott, who has been doing a solid job so far, has been doing a better job than Ron DeSantis, believe it or not, and that is a very unpopular stance to take, but I'm willing to stand up for Greg Abbott. He's a very good guy. That's a joke. Anyways, Greg Abbott will probably win with the Trump endorsement at his back. He will be able to roll on to new heights and win the governorship against Beto O'Rourke, I would say by over 10 points. He'll get his ass kicked. I would not be surprised if Greg Abbott won the Hispanic vote or got it in the high 40s. I mean, Greg Abbott is really good electorally, and Beto is losing a lot of swag. He's getting older. The shtick doesn't work, and more people are going to realize that, okay, now he's just a middle-aged, kind of ugly guy, which was true all along, but I mean, just over time, it just gets more obvious, okay? Next state we're going to be talking about is New Mexico. As far as I know, we can have a candidate in Mark Ronchetti with a Trump endorsement that looks like the Chad version of John Doyle, who also has some local name recognition from being a weatherman, which is good optics, very bipartisan, very useful to be a weatherman who's accurate. We have a lot of historically successful weathermen, sort of quasi like Ron Goldman. Not Ron Goldman, what the fuck am I thinking? Ron something from the Anchorman, but that's different. X that. I'm talking about the weatherman from Bachelorette Season 6, but never mind that as well. We're going to be talking about weatherman Mark Ronchetti. Mark Ronchetti is a guy who outperformed Donald Trump in the last election last year by 5%. If you were to take that and say, okay, well, New Mexico went Democrat by about 11 points, and Mark Ronchetti lost by about 6. If you take that and you add an R+8 environment, you can assume that Mark Ronchetti could win New Mexico's governorship by a tilt. Also, the current governor, the blonde Hispanic, fake Latina, you could say that, Michelle Lujan Grisham, or whatever her name is, she is not too popular. She is not doing too hot. She's also aging rough. So, based on that, we're going to give Mark Ronchetti his endorsement. He's going to get his win, and that is awesome to see. Also, we're going to be looking at... Okay, I pronounced that really weird. My bad. Okay, next state. We're going to be moving on to the state of Nevada. And not talking about Nevada from Fallout New Vegas or Las Vegas from Army of the Dead. We're going to be talking about the degenerate capital of the world, Las Vegas, as a place that is going to be swinging pretty hard right. I also believe that a lot of people that normally would have voted for the Democrats out of convenience are going to vote Republican or not just sit out the election, because a lot of the economy is based on consumption. And if you're going to be locking down the state, you're going to be really killing the county where we have a lot of Latinos in, which is Las Vegas. That county, I don't even remember what the name is, but the point is that that's going to shift very Republican. I think that Nevada, which went a couple points for the Democrats in 2016 and 2020, should be going lean to likely Republican, believe it or not. I say this because while Sisolak did win by a healthy amount in 2018, he didn't win by a crazy amount. And the candidate that we have so far is not Adam Laxalt. I think it's somebody else. And whoever it is going to do fine. I think as long as we don't botch it, we should be able to win. There's also a burn victim that might be running for Senate. I don't care. Okay. Next state we're going to be talking about, which is the best state, by the way, is going to be Arizona. Arizona, amazing. Number one state. It's GOAT. Anyways, Arizona is a state that is more or less Republican. If you really just look into it, it is in its heart a Republican state, and I will never forget you, Arizona. It's like, the point is that it's very clearly something that is not really in contention. We have a carpet muncher in Katie Hobbs, who is fucking deranged. She's insane. The people at Starbucks even think she's crazy. And I just say that because she looks like somebody who does drink a lot of that. And then, she's pudgy and disgusting. And Kirsten Sinema just mogs her in every way. And I bet it eats her inside that she's in the Senate and this bitch is Secretary of State reading Doug Ducey's little emails, because she's a bitch. And she will get clapped by Carrie Lake with a Trump endorsement. Carrie Lake, who I'm not the biggest fan of. She's a woman. I don't think that's a good idea for office. They don't belong in politics in general. But I will give her a pass because there's not many better options. We have Kimberly Yee, who's another woman. We have Salmon or Layman or whatever the fuck his name is. I don't know who that is. And again, I don't care. So Carrie Lake can get the endorsement, whatever. Discount Tucker Carlson, sure. But we're going to have a Trump endorsed candidate win the state of Arizona by a likely margin, I believe. In fact, I think she'll win by 5-ish points. Okay? Why? Well, first of all, for it to even be close in the first place, given how shitty the Democrats have been so far with the Biden presidency, is if it gets polarized. And sure, it'll get polarized, and it'll be, Democrat versus Republicans who's Q and all this bullshit about the election. But I don't think it'll stick. And because of that, I think Kerry's going to win. It's very clear the people in Arizona are really pissed with gas prices. I mean, all that sort of stuff is just eating at them. The inflation, I see it on a day-by-day basis. People are pissed off with the high prices. And nobody's ever defended Joe Biden, unironically to me, before, especially like on a person-to-person basis. So just based off of that fact, I think that Arizona will be a safe Republican state insofar as likelihood of going red in 2022. And I also think that overall the Republicans are going to flip a lot of states. I think we already flipped Virginia. We're going to flip the governorship in the state of Kansas. We're going to flip the governorship in the state of New Mexico, Nevada. We're going to keep Arizona. We're going to flip Minnesota. We're going to flip Wisconsin. We're going to flip Michigan. We're going to flip Pennsylvania. And I filled Michigan without even thinking about it, but James Craig, who I believe is the black commissioner or sheriff, whatever you want to call him, of Warren County or Michigan, more or less there, it is going to go red because he is black, and I think that is good optics. So it kind of bypasses the BLM garbage and a bunch of like the anti-white racism that the left espouses. Not that I care that much because I'm not in the mood to talk about it, but overall, I think he has the good optics to win. I think the Trump endorsement will carry him over the edge. Again, Trump can more or less get anybody elected in any of the swing states because that's how favorable the electorate will be for the Republicans. So overall, we're going to be flipping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 governorships, 6, 7, 8. We're going to be netting like 6 governorships or so, and I think this is more or less going to be the map. Give or take a couple. Obviously, it depends on what candidate is going to be nominated and all that. I also want to give the disclaimer that I did record this like at midnight, and I'm really, really, really tired. And what am I going to say? Well, I'm being sort of semi-ironic. Okay, so like if you think like why do you say that? I'm sort of kidding. Okay, this is like a stream of thoughts. I really just do not care about this election so much anymore. I'm not gonna say I'm burnt out about politics, but I'm definitely just tired in general. But we're gonna power through it. I mean, we have a lot of fucking content coming up, and this was semi-ironic, semi-satirical. I'm joking. I'm being a little jovial. That's not even a word that I'm gonna use, but definitely I am vibing in a different wavelength. Like I already started the video by saying that Oregon's gonna flip red while putting blue. So overall, I'm tripping balls. It's okay. Anyways. Hope y'all have had a good time. Anyways, I'm gonna leave, and you can comment down below what you thought of the video. Again, I was being sort of ironic, so don't think that I'm being completely serious. And if you do think I'm being completely serious, then you're wrong. You're wrong. So I'm out. Bye.